Allow me to introduce myself.
I am the last sane sports fan.
I am a genius by trade.
I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to The View from the Midwest. Well, let's get right to it. I'm a little bit bored today, so I figured why not start a little bit of an argument. And we're going to talk about the NFL because that's what's going on right now. That's the big thing. Obviously, baseball in full swing and all of that. And the pennant races starting to heat up. The wild card races, I should say, because a lot of the division races aren't all that close. But that's neither here nor there. I figured football's about to start. Let's get into one of those big existential questions. Who is the greatest quarterback playing right now? We could go all time, but then you bring in too many factors, too many arguments. So let's just focus on who's playing right now. Who is the best? And I thought about this. I said before, a little bit bored. Thought about maybe just kind of throwing out one of those big topics, started discussion. But it also kind of got started based on the fact that Eli Manning was reported to have asked the Giants to make him the highest paid quarterback in the league once his contract negotiations begin. That's ridiculous. Number one, Eli Manning came out and said that wasn't true. I don't necessarily believe him 100%, but there's no way that he should be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL because he's not even in the top 10 in terms of best quarterbacks in the league right now. Now, people who are Eli Manning supporters are going to sit there and point to his Super Bowls, but I'm going to kind of defeat that argument a little bit later in terms of just the overall argument about Super Bowls. Eli Manning is a good quarterback. He's had a great career. He's a solid quarterback. I would like him to be on my football team if I had the opportunity, but that doesn't always mean that you should be the highest paid player in the game. Let's get right to the crux of the argument. People are going to sit there and be astounded that I still take this line of thinking, but I am still going to say that Peyton Manning is the better quarterback right now. People I know, right as soon as I said Peyton Manning, they're flipping their lids because there's all those people out there that say, well, Tom Brady's got all these Super Bowls, he's won all these games, he's a better postseason quarterback. Oh, well, Ben Roethlisberger, he's won more Super Bowls. You look at this, you look at that. Calm down, just a bit. Hear me out, because I understand those arguments. And this is one of those things that it's good for sports talk radio, but my viewpoint on it is not so good for sports talk radio because this is just my opinion. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong, nobody's ever going to win an argument in these kind of discussions. I still say Peyton Manning because you have to look at the entire picture. Tom Brady has won more Super Bowls. Tom Brady will go down, love him or hate him. Think what you will about Deflategate, think what you will about the New England Patriots, think what you will about everything that's gone on, the destroyed cell phones, etc., and so on. Think whatever. That's your opinion. I have mine. I've discussed it on this show before. But Tom Brady, when you come down to brass tacks, is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, at least in terms of winning. He's like Joe Montana. He's not necessarily the greatest from start to finish in every single game, but he will get you that victory come hell or high water. That being said, if I'm picking a team, I still go with Peyton Manning. Now, you could sit there and throw statistics one way or the other. Right now, Peyton Manning, the best stats I could find right now are on Wikipedia, and for whatever reason, they don't include the Super Bowl. But that's not going to change the argument much right now. Peyton Manning has more yards, more touchdowns, more yards per game, more average yards per throw, more attempts. And now, obviously, that's going to allow you to have more yards and everything. He's been sacked less, though. I found that really interesting, that he's been sacked less than Tom Brady in his entire career. But you could also say, well, he's probably been hit more. He just gets the ball out a little bit quicker. Again, I'm not a big, huge stats guy, so you can sit there and say, well, he's got all these Super Bowls. He's been to more Super Bowls. But Peyton Manning, if you look at the grand picture of where they started, where they've gone, what they've done to the game, that is my argument for Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning came in as the guy from day number one. He took a terrible team, built it up, built them into a Super Bowl contender. Tom Brady, for as good as he is, the Patriots have always been good since he was on that team, since he was thrust into the limelight. Let us not forget that that team was going to a Super Bowl with Drew Bledsoe as the quarterback. Tom Brady was fortunate that Bledsoe picked up an injury, and he stepped in and did a valiant job, won the Super Bowl for them. I still say the Rams probably shouldn't have allowed them to have any time, but you can hem and haw all those kind of decisions. It doesn't matter. Brady ended up winning. But again, Brady stepped into a good situation. Peyton Manning had to make his own situation. Peyton Manning has had some great players. He's played with Marvin Harrison. He's played with Reggie Wayne. He's played with some great receivers. He hasn't had a good running game, but again, that's Peyton Manning's decision because Peyton Manning basically is the coach. That's the other thing. Peyton Manning has not necessarily been afforded the kind of coaching that he should have had from the very beginning, and that's his own fault. I will freely admit that. That is kind of a knock against him as well, that he has not allowed anybody to necessarily dictate how things are going to be played. He'll kind of take a step back. He'll kind of let things form how they will, but ultimately Peyton Manning is the one out there making the decisions, whereas Bill Belichick, Tom Brady has freedom to do what he wants, but Bill Belichick is where the buck stops. And that's the final word on all of that. Tom Brady has had good coaching. He's had a great coach. I don't like Bill Belichick as a person, but there's no denying that he forms a system that is capable of winning games. But that is also an argument against Tom Brady, because as great as Tom Brady is, the Patriots system just turns over and produces the next good player. Let's not forget again that they had a player step in. The name is escaping me right now. I looked this up right before I started the show, but he went on to play for the Chiefs, and a couple other teams didn't play well at all, but won 11 games with the Patriots. Well, that right there shows you that as great as Tom Brady is, you can take Tom Brady out and still win games because it's a system, it's a team built for success. Whereas Peyton Manning, he took a team to the playoffs, he took a team to the Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl, all of a sudden he misses an entire season practically, and they win, 2 games without him? They were just an awful, awful team without Peyton Manning. So you go from Super Bowl contender with Peyton Manning to absolutely terrible without him, whereas without Tom Brady, the New England Patriots were still kind of a Super Bowl contender in and of themselves. Peyton Manning is one of those players. To me, if you want to go back in history and compare them, Peyton Manning is like John Elway to Tom Brady's Joe Montana. You can't go wrong with either one, but you can make an argument that one is better than the other and just didn't have quite as much success. Peyton Manning has changed the way that the quarterback position is played. He is allowed to do so much on the field. The guy has such a mind for the game. Tom Brady is a winner, pure and simple. But Peyton Manning just does so much for every team that he is on. He improves them. He automatically makes them Super Bowl contenders. I don't necessarily know that you take Tom Brady and put him on the Jacksonville Jaguars and all of a sudden they're going to be a playoff contender. They'll be a good team. They'll improve. But I think Peyton Manning, if he's given the kind of weapons, the kind of system that he wants, he can go in just about any team and improve them into a playoff contender. Maybe not a Super Bowl contender, but I think that he is right now still one of the best quarterbacks of all time, along with Tom Brady. And personally, if I'm picking my own team, I will pick Peyton Manning over Tom Brady, despite the fact that the Patriots have had more success and Tom Brady was the benefit of that, winning those Super Bowls. Again, just my opinion, but that is how I'm going to present it. What are your views on this topic? That is the View from the Midwest. Let's get this conversation rolling. I'd like to hear your viewpoints. Throw out all the stats you want at me. You're not necessarily going to change my viewpoint on it, but let's hear your reasoning behind. Maybe you think Ben Roethlisberger needs to be in that conversation. Maybe you think Tom Brady, what have you. The one argument that I will go against on the Super Bowl thing, again, just before we quit, everybody wants to throw out Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl ring. Dan Marino does not. Now, if you can argue that Trent Dilfer is a better quarterback than Dan Marino, then you deserve the gold star for the day. That'll wrap up today's show. Until the next time, I'll see you then.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo, and so much